Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. Gravity Falls is a Disney animated TV show about twins Mable and Dipper, who end up spending a summer in the Oregon town of Gravity Falls with their grunkle Stan, a con artist that runs a local tourist attraction called the Mystery Shack, with help from handyman Zeus and gift shop clerk Wendy. However, Gravity Falls is actually a very strange community that's full of deep conspiracies and scary folklore. Oh, and Stan? He's actually secretly building a portal to bring back his twin brother Ford from the multi-dimensional universe. In this video, I'm going to be ranking the villains that Dipper and Mable face in Gravity Falls, although I won't be counting antagonists from the non-canon anthology episodes. Let the countdown begin! Zombie Horde. After the FBI refused to believe Dipper about his journal, he desperately summons a horde of zombies to prove that it's the real deal. But now, he has no idea how to defeat these undead. Gravity Falls features many monsters that are rather horrendous for a Disney cartoon, so it's unsurprising how grotesque these zombies are. Plus, I love how the episode experiments with its lighting to show the more nuanced terror of animated zombies.
No! Mable, I'm sorry!
The kids' fight against these walking dead is also made even more nail-biting by how Grunkle Stan is busy in his secret basement and the FBI have been dragged underground. So we're basically watching helpless children fend for themselves against one of horror's worst creatures.
Quick! The golf cart! Oh, come on!
Sure, Zeus is part of our survival team. However, he's also the only hero to get bitten, so not even our favourite man-child has the kids back for long. Yeah, brain-hungry Zeus may be very funny in action, but he also gives these gormless corpses their biggest advantage.
Hey dudes! By the way, I taught the zombies how to get into the fuse box. Among these dudes, I'm like a genius.
It then later turns out that the only way to beat these undead is through a 3-part harmony? Which might seem very random and silly, but it's a solution that ties in neatly with the episode's karaoke party setting and gives the Pines a chance to fight zombies in a very untraditional fun way. So why did I put them at 18? Well, these are good villains for sure, but it's just that, at the end of the day, they're your generic brain-munching walking dead. Villains who are basically tracing the classic Romero zombie formula without all the gore, all while every other Gravity Falls baddie goes the mile to be extra weird in some way. Urman Bratzman. Urman is the manager of the boy band several times, who all turn out to be products of Mr. Bratzman's clone experiment. This villain has achieved a scientific landmark by inventing the first ever human clones, yet he desires the wealth and bounties of gold records over traditional mad science goals. It's bad enough that he's playing God through morally ambiguous science, but he also treats his boy band like personal pets at best and human slaves at worst, all while being fully prepared to replace any member that lets him down.
Remember, you can always be replaced by your brothers.
He says that he loves his boys, but it's so obvious that the narcissist just loves the money that they make him. Not only is Urman a fun spin on wacky urban legends about clones in the music industry, but he's also an eerily accurate parody of real-life degenerate boy band producer Lou Pearlman, a fraudster who famously exploited such iconic groups as NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Yes, this kids' cartoon baddie is disturbingly inspired by a real-life criminal and abusive manager who used to prowl the music industry. Creepy, huh?
They must be around here somewhere. I'll find those boys if I have to turn this town upside down!
Even though Urman gets arrested in the end, it's sadly not for his crimes of imprisonment or illegal science, but for a missing license plate that a goat ate. So despite now deservedly being in jail, no one will ever know his dark secret. Blendin Blandin. Blendin is a dopey time traveller who has a mission in Dipper and Mable's timeline, but while visiting present-day Gravity Falls, the twins end up stealing his time tape and use it for themselves. This leads to Blendin being sent to prison for ages. In revenge, Mr. Blandin challenges our heroes to a dystopian deathmatch called Globnar. This is a very dumb and clumsy villain. Intentionally, of course. He's so dang pathetic that our heroes can't even remember his name.
What did you say your name was again? Blindo? Blondin?
Blar blar.
There it is!
Blendin is a time travel agent who's not as cool or slick as his job sounds. Heck, you could partly blame his own unprofessionalism for causing his time tape to end up in Dipper and Mable's hands.
Guard it with your life!
I will watch it like a hawk, dude.
However, there's terrific comedic value to his ineptitude and obnoxiousness, his personality being so annoying that even the time cops assigned to him hilariously find him to be aggravating.
I'm gonna keep stammering until you find them.
I hate that guy.
I also wouldn't say that he's entirely unintimidating, because he's at least wisely used his prison time to train for Glopnar.
What do you think I did in prison all that time?
Uh-oh.
And we can't ignore the strong possibility that he's bound to use his potential Glopnar win to have Dipper and Mable executed in revenge.
No, please!
And the two of you are officially challenged!
Luckily though, Blendon loses, and has his life spared by the compassionate twins, who do owe him after actively ruining his life. This does sort of lead to a redemption of some kind. I mean, I can't blame him for being used as a vessel by Bill Cipher later on. That's not his fault. Plus he does deserve credit for alerting the Time Authority about Bill's crime, but he ultimately bails on Mable and Dipper's timeline once his peers are destroyed. So I wouldn't call him a hero, but his efforts to do good are there, and he does improve on his old self a little tiny bit. Preston Northwest. Preston is the wealthiest man in Gravity Falls and the descendant of its founder, Nathaniel Northwest. He's a smug elitist who prides himself on the surname that he's inherited, despite said lineage being secretly full of lies and deceit. He has a notably stuck-up attitude towards the poor, so much so that he cons local ghost hunter Dipper into ridding his mansion of a curse, one that his own ancestors created, just to make sure that his posh party is kept refined.
You lied to me! All of you did! All you had to do was let the townsfolk into the party and you could have broken the curse!
Not to mention, when said curse is unleashed, Preston is willing to abandon his very own guests and cower in his panic room, all to desperately avoid being charitable to the lower class. What a disgusting human being.
I'm hosting a party for the most powerful people in the world. Do you think they'd come here if they had to rub elbows with your kind?
One of the more disturbing things about him, though, is the way that he raises his daughter, Pacifica, a little girl who's growing up to be a mini version of her parents, all while being cruelly pressured to live up to her surname.
Oh, and whatever happens, just remember one thing. You're a Northwest. Don't lose.
At first, Pacifica seems like a typical mean girl, but then we learn that Preston relies on a concerning discipline system involving a bell. We have no idea what will happen if Pacifica disobeys the ringing, and that's terrifying.
Mind your mother, Pacifica.
But... Yes, Father.
What's just as alarming though, is that once the God of Chaos, Bill Cipher, takes over Gravity Falls, Preston is 100% happy to surrender himself to a higher power and become Cipher's minion. Yep, this jerk would sooner sell himself out before using his riches to protect his town. Thankfully, from here on out, it's nothing but well-deserving and humiliating comeuppance for the greedy capitalist. The kind of villain downfall that's worth grabbing snacks from the concession stand for.
The Northwest family has gone broke. After pledging his allegiance to Bill and then placing all his savings in weirdness bonds, Preston Northwest had to sell his mansion to preserve his family fortune.
The Lilliputians. These little golf ball-shaped critters live in the Gravity Falls Crazy Golf Center and are facing division and hostility between each other. So, Mable, who is eager to beat Pacifica in a game of Crazy Golf, offers to reward a gold sticker to the clan who helps her win. But the competition drives the buggers to get desperate. The fun of these antagonists is the variety of flavors that they all come in. Each course offers a different kind of themed clan, and every community has their very own unique culture, with the episode going to dramatic lengths to make each clan seem like they have their own stories to tell.
Would you like us to elaborate through song?
Yeah, we're good.
Heck, we feel particularly sorry for the miners, because they end up sacrificing a beloved member of their community. It's just kind of hard to pity them once they go crazy with competitiveness and put human lives in danger. Less in the name of a fallen soldier, and more for the love of the gold sticker.
Okay, so we saw you were favoring the miners, and we figured, what's better than beating Pacifica? Killing her!
Saying that, the Lilliputians' mutual desire for said sticker is what finally ends the division and unites these pint-sized villains in a mission of bloodlust. Having a common enemy turns these warring factions into an even bigger army. These critters may be adorable on face value, but together, they could be a force to be reckoned with.
Cut open her belly and get the sticker! Get the girl! Slice her open!
You guys aren't appreciating the lesson here!
Our heroes do eventually escape, but the villains get to keep one kidnappee and force him to be their hostage forever in their crazy golf kingdom, which is a little bit unsettling when you think about it. The wax figures. In one episode, Grunkle Stan reboots his defunct wax museum and adds a new model based on himself. The following night though, someone decapitates Wax Stan, and so the Pines twins investigate possible suspects, only for us to find out that the other wax figures were the culprits all along. The highlight of these villains is how the episode executes them into the mystery of the week. You see, there's enough strong red herrings to keep us guessing who may be off Wax Stan.
There were a lot of unhappy customers at the unveiling. The murderer could have been anyone.
But the episode also slides in natural foreshadowing.
You there!
Old Man McGucket, local kook, are the wax figures alive? And follow-up question, can I survive the Waxman uprising?
And the clues can be applied to humans while still matching up with the wax figures in the end.
Wax Stan's shoe has a hole in it.
When you rewatch this episode too, the murder of Wax Stan becomes more emotionally haunting, because we know that Stan most likely saw his wax doppelganger as something to fill the void of his missing twin brother, hence why Stan takes the death of his silly vanity project to heart.
Thank you all for coming. Some people might say it's wrong for a man to love a wax replica of himself.
They're wrong!
These villains get a pretty short screen time thanks to being last-minute twists, and are rather easy to defeat due to their soft, meltable flesh, so they are a little anticlimactic after all the build-up behind the mystery. However, it's Wax Sherlock Holmes that makes up for these setbacks. Not only is he the perfect foe for an episode about Dipper trying to prove his junior detective skills,
Those cops were right about me.
Dipper, we've come so far. We can't give up now.
the Wax Sherlock's over-the-top British accent and classic theatricality are perfect traits for an animated villain.
Now that you know our secret, you must die.
He also survives long enough to be granted a cinematic duel against a new generation of detective. Oh, and speaking of Dipper, he actually outwits Holmes himself in the end, which really is a fantastic flex for a kid mystery solver.
Any last words?
You got any sunscreen?
Got any... What?
Ma and Pa Duskleton. Ma and Pa were once humble shopkeepers, but they found the teenagers who hung outside their store to be too traumatizing, and both died from heart attacks. When Dipper, Mabel and their teenage friends break into Ma and Pa's abandoned store years later, they are attacked by the shopkeepers' ghosts. The fun thing about these vengeful spirits is how imaginative they are when it comes to haunting, whether they're creating warped apparitions when characters feel at the most safe, or coming up with supernatural punishments that are either darkly ironic or utilize supermarket items, with each teenager facing harsh treatment just for being themselves.
What? I'm bonkers for eating you alive! No!
And our only clue to their very existence are the eerie chalk lines for their dead corpses.
Wait, maybe let's not do that.
This guy's scared.
This married couple might seem soft-spoken and friendly at first, because they have that countryside store charm, but don't let their polite customer service fool you, as they do have an aggressive side that can be awoken if they don't get what they want.
Is there anything else I can do?
No! Okay.
Dipper is able to calm the two spooks down by pandering to their love for youthful innocence. But our ghosts never learn to let go of their prejudice towards teens, and will most likely once again terrorize the next batch of teenagers who explore their shop. The Gnomes. When Mabel gets a new boyfriend called Norman, Dipper becomes suspicious that his sister's fella is a zombie in disguise. While Dipper is onto something, we're shocked to discover that Norman is actually a bunch of gnomes pretending to be a teenage boy. I've always loved how this episode sneakily leads audiences into believing Dipper's zombie theory by giving us big clues that lean heavily towards Norman being the undead, while also organically dropping the fact that gnomes do exist in Gravity Falls.
Guess again, sister. Shabam! Oh wait, I'm sorry. Shabam!
When the cat is finally out of the bag, the gnomes end up being pretty entertaining little creeps. Fairy tale fiends that are wrapped in self-delusion and immaturity.
Will you join us in holy matrimony? Matrimony. Blah. Can't talk today.
While these villains are more comical than scary, there is something chilling about these grown men's interest in marrying a little girl and keeping her as their shared wife forever. They're not just uncomfortably predatory though, because while they're on the smaller side, they still have sharp teeth and scratchy claws, plus they can all collectively combine into one of the biggest threats in the forest. Now yes, Mabel has made the mistake of being fooled by the gnomes, but she gets to prove that she's not an idiot by cleverly turning a kissing practice idea into the perfect anti-gnome trap. thus proudly defeating them in their own Mable way.
1, 2, 3!
I'll get you back for this!
The Gnomes are pretty despicable characters, and a later episode even shows that they've not changed their ways. To be honest, I doubt they ever will.
You're surrounded by an unstoppable gnome army. Now give us back our deed and get off our property.
And let the marriage ceremony begin!
Celestabellebethabelle, when Ford needs unicorn hair to protect the Mystery Shack, an eager Mable agrees to take on the quest. But Celestabellebethabelle, the unicorn, labels the good-hearted Mable as a bad person, who is not worthy of her hair. In a later twist though, it turns out that she just likes scamming humans with lies. While we can understand this unicorn's desire to be left alone and not be seen as some kind of gimmick attraction, Celeste could have always just said go away, instead of immaturely resorting to messing with a little girl's head. I mean, there's honestly something really cruel about seeing this child being made to hate herself and desperately chase after unrealistic perfection. Celeste's emotional manipulation is killing this kid inside, and it's so hard to watch.
Being kind and sweet is what makes me who I am. If I'm not a good person, who am I?
I find it extra grating how the jerky unicorn relies on shallow illusions and fake rainbow tears to further dig into Mabel's tender conscience. This horned horse may be pretty, but she's the real monster in this fable.
Not to mention you're crushing like 10 dandelions right now. Those are basically children's dreams.
Meanwhile, Mabel's friends, who don't care about breaking a few rules, try to acquire the unicorn hair in their own punk way, because that's how far Celeste has pushed them, not only as anti-heroes, but also as Mabel's loving friends who know her best.
If you ask me, this whole thing is a serious load. Mabel's like the best person I've ever met.
That's the real lesson of this episode, how morality is in grayscale and that nobody has a clean slate. Heck, it's this very epiphany that helps Mabel to let go of a fairy tale idea of unicorns being pure and boldly embrace the very dark side that she's been unhealthily denying.
You're a good person, Mabel.
Thanks, Grunkle Ford. But today I learned that morality is relative.
Money!
Darlene. Grunkle Stan wants to prove to Dipper that he's a ladies' man, so he tries to flirt with a receptionist called Darlene and manages to impress her enough to get a date. However, Darlene is actually a spider monster in disguise who plans to eat Stan for dinner. This vicious predator has seductively styled herself in a way that's bound to be attractive to older men, almost like she knows exactly what kind of woman that a man like Stan would go after. To be honest though, it's her flattery skills that she's truly mastered. She's wickedly good at targeting her prey's masculine ego, from pretending to be easily scared to blowing smoke up a date's backside.
Oh, you are a riot. What brings you here? We don't normally get men this handsome round these parts.
Once Stan is cobwebbed up, Darlene disturbingly treats the geezer like a Sunday dinner and acts nonchalant about a helpless man dangling in her cave. Even when Stan gets close to escaping, Darlene is scarily fast at slashing his chances.
Trying to escape.
There's something very off-putting about her home's mummy decorations too, especially when you remember that one of the park exhibits was mummy-themed. So yeah, her prey end up becoming a roadside attractions to keep herself funded, all while her customers are none the wiser.
Sort of confused by the phrase new mummies daily though. I mean, how does that even work?
It seems like nothing will stop her eight-legged freak from getting her dinner. Her hunger pushing her to plate Stan up as soon as she can, all while she gets to show off her natural predatory agility as a giant arachnid.
Enjoying the view? Take a picture.
Our trickster demon might get a pretty brutal defeat in the end, but even being half squished doesn't stop her from a relentless hunt for roast Grunkle.
I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. You'll let me out, right?
Giffany. Seuss is struggling to find a date in time for a family wedding, so he resorts to playing a Japanese dating video game to get more experienced. But said game turns out to be a sentient evil force hiding behind a weeb aesthetic. Giffany is a dark satire on the addictive side of dating sims.
This game is amazing. I'm making eye contact, going on dates, and I haven't seen any natural sunlight for 13 hours.
Giffany is less focused on educating Seuss on dating etiquette and far more invested in making Seuss dependent on her game. She does this by maliciously tapping into Seuss's biggest insecurities and then exaggerates these fears tenfold, making him see her as a safety blanket from the harsh world of reality.
We're going back to the mall, man. You need to unplug.
I'll see you later, Giffany. I'll be back, I swear!
You see, Giffany is no ordinary game. She's a ferocious virus that has coldly killed her very own passionate creators.
It's almost like you're actually alive.
Yes, almost. Ha 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 ha.
Oh man.
Even when Zeus finally breaks his game addiction, Giffany is still able to interfere with his life and cruelly ruins an in-person date that has adorable promise. That's right, we can't safely assume that she's limited to a video games world because her data is powerful enough to possess any and all technology. She's a virtual ghost that can erratically leap between machines at her whim, and she deviously uses his fang to a wild delight at Zeus's Chuck E. Cheese inspired date. Nothing is off the table for her at this arcade's library of appliances. If it's powered by electricity, then Giffany can take command over it. That's not all. She's also backed by an advanced targeting system, can strike down other video game characters, and even pilots animatronic puppets to help her enter Zeus's world.
I can download your brain into the game with me, and we'll be together forever.
You could go as far as to say that, even though she's only in one episode, Giffany is one of the most formidable foes in Gravity Falls, all because of her unlimited digital power. However, she does have a heart that can be destroyed. Probabilitor. In one episode, our heroes accidentally bring their D&D inspired tabletop to life and must play a real game against the franchise's wizard mascot, Probabilitor. There's so much to love about every detail of this fantastical baddie. Firstly, he has a terrific design that pops on screen, from his twisted ceremony inspired look to the genius idea of making a multi-sided die into his staff gem. I would not say that he's just a generic evil wizard either, because there's a layer of nerdiness to his personality. He's genuinely passionate about his own board game and thoroughly enjoys how much maths is involved.
Attack!
Oh, and on top of this, despite being an elderly man, he is actually a basement dweller.
I had my mom pack me a lunch. Ew, apple slices.
Even though he's a massive dork, there's still something very unsettling about his motive to eat Dipper and Ford's brains, under the guise of consuming their intelligence. We have no idea if said cannibalism will even make the wizard any smarter, but he's creepily eager to find out.
With each brain I eat, I shall increase my enchantelligence.
He's also supported by a variety of minions that represent the wide range of characters you'd find in a D&D world, each one bringing something useful to the table.
Halt! Yon interlopers are trespassing on the ancient forest of Probabilitor the Wizard!
However, I'd say that Probabilitor is at his most fun once his game gets going. It's a dramatic battle that forces the experienced players into being vulnerable game pawns, and pushes the inexperienced characters into playing the game for the very first time, with their loved ones' lives in their hands.
What do we do? What are our moves?
There are no moves! You make them up!
While our villain proves his expert knack at the very game that he's trapped our heroes in, his every summoning or strategy showcasing his impressive imagination or willingness to win, even going as far as using a banned monster to up the ante.
I'm playing the controversial 1991-1992 edition!
The cherry on the cupcake is that once this silly twit loses, he ironically gets turned into pure math, his greatest passion.
What are the
Blind Ivan? The Blind Eye Society are a dark cult who are committed to wiping the memories of any townspeople who have witnessed anything supernatural, and their leader is the enigmatic Blind Ivan. Each Blind Eye member is rather quirky or aloof, which makes for amusing unhooding reveals.
Creepy dude who married a woodpecker? You too?
But Ivan sticks out as an exceptionally intimidating figure, a leader who prides himself on his cult's legacy and takes their duties very seriously. Ivan acts like the Blind Eye Society is doing a great service to Gravity Falls because he's removing every townsperson's paranormal trauma, but quite the contrary, he's actually causing severe brain damage to his victims and taking away everyone's right to know their town's secrets.
Tell us, Robbie, what is it that you have seen?
So I was attacked by this magic kung fu guy that was throwing, like, balls of fire at me?
Oh, the library that holds everyone's memories is so huge that we quickly realize how overwhelmingly excessive Ivan has been when it comes to brainwashing. Ivan feels creepily entitled to all of these complete strangers' personal memories, as if they're sacred property to his Freemason-style club.
That memory belongs to McGucket!
The Society's secrets belong to us!
Ivan's unhealthy dependence on the memory erasure gun has both gone straight to his head and ruined his own self-identity. When it comes to who Ivan is, all we have to work with are his cryptic head tattoos and a mysterious cross-shaped scar, so we don't know what this shady townsperson's backstory is, or how much of his mental health is still intact. Things that are rather scary to process when we remember that he's in charge of a powerful cult.
End of the line. By tomorrow, this will all seem like a bad dream.
Despite their imposing and relentless force, the Blind Eye do have an Achilles heel, a brain that can't be wiped, and that noggin happens to belong to the society's very own founder.
You can't break what's already broken!
Now yes, our heroes are able to end the Blind Eye Society by deleting its existence from every member's memory, but Ivan, he has no memory before joining the cult, so he's left to embrace a brand new identity invented by Mable on the spot, and tragically, who he really is will most likely be forgotten to time.
Yes. I am Toot Toot McBumbersnazzle. Cheers!
Archibald Corduroy. Long ago, a lumberjack called Archibald agreed to help build a manor for the Northwest family, and his crew would get a party entrance in return for their efforts. However, the rotten Nathaniel Northwest ended up turning his workers away on the night, which spurred Archibald into cursing the Northwests. Years later, Archibald's ghost haunts the Northwest's latest elitist party, but Preston refuses to end the family curse. This has to be my favourite spectral villain in Gravity Falls. A huge, vengeful spirit who makes an epic entrance, specialises in spine-chilling taxidermy hauntings, and carries an enormous axe that can actually cause serious damage. Oh, not even the journal can save Dipper from this ghost bust.
This book is gonna save our lives. All right, here we go. Advice. Oh, seriously?
Yeah, Dipper does eventually trap Mr. Corduroy, but the badass is actually able to break out by sheer force, only to then go on a cursed rampage that blends the chaos of living taxidermy with the skin-crawling uncanniness of being frozen as wood.
Please, help me! Whoa, that is messed up!
As dominating as this ghost is, we do feel sorry for his tragic backstory. A working-class lumberjack who slaved away for a wealthy family while watching his friends sacrifice their lives, only to be betrayed after years of labour, which was insulting enough, but then fate sprinkled salt in the wound moments later. Frighteningly, our only paranormal expert becomes one of the many victims of the curse, resulting in Archibald successfully pinning the Northwest into a corner.
We can't let the town see us like this! We have a reputation to uphold!
Thankfully though, Pacifica, the next generation of the Northwests, bravely disobeys a strict family to do the right thing, giving us a strangely bittersweet villain defeat. We feel both relieved that everything is over, but also happy that Archibald found justice, which really shows how complex of a villain he was.
I feel lumber justice.
The Summerween Trickster. On Summerween night in Gravity Falls, the legendary Summerween Trickster ends up forcing the kids to collect a certain amount of candy before all the watermelon lanterns are blown out. This very creepy fella is the Halloween boogeyman of this universe. And boy does he strike fear into kids. A tall, gangly creature with a shadowy presence and an unsettling voice that will make you shudder. It's actually hard to believe that it's Jeff Bennett growling behind the mic.
The choice is yours, children. You must trick or treat, or die.
There's already lots of tension to how the kids have to reach a quota before the streets go dark, but the trickster also loves to taunt the children while they're trick-or-treating, and enjoys making them squirm by reminding them about what's at stake.
I've seen better. Tick-tock.
While you can certainly see the show's influences for the trickster's design and vibe, he's still very much his own folklore creation, and scary in his own right. A flexible and moldable monster that can leap buildings under the moonlight, or crawl like an insect in confined spaces. Oh, you cannot easily destroy him.
Guys?
We do also strangely sympathise with him in a way, because he's made from all the candy that kids have rejected out of disgust. He's an outcast of Halloween that no one wants to love. Heck, I can't help but feel happy for him when he finally gets what he wants.
You actually think I taste good?
Sure. You know.
All I've ever wanted is for someone to say that I was good.
The Summerween Trickster, without a doubt, is one of the scariest Gravity Falls baddies, and has deservedly become a fan favourite thanks to his seasonal spooky appeal. The Shapeshifter. After our heroes go down to explore a mysterious bunker, they meet an eccentric man who could be the journal's author. But sadly, we soon learn that he's actually a shape-shifting monster who wants to use the journal to his advantage. Before our heroes work out the Shapeshifter's secret, it's really impressive how much he commits to the author persona. Not only does he cleverly stage a monster hunt narrative, but he also says exactly what he knows what Dipper wants to hear.
I've gone half crazy trying to catch the creature alone, but now you're here.
Will you help me catch it?
There's a lot of nightmare fuel to this creature too, with the animators taking strong influence from John Carpenter's The Thing to create a truly horrifying mutant who takes sick pleasure in depicting his victims' worst visions.
How about both?
The fact that he has the journal now also means that his transformation skills are boundless and rich in creative freedom, all because he excels at picking the best costume for each stage of the bunker battle. Even when he's not utilizing the journal, he's a master of imitation who can cleverly deceive our heroes with expert mimicry and believable acting.
Give it back! It belongs to Dipper! Hit her with the axe! Don't listen to her, Dipper! She's the shapeshifter!
Freakiest of all though, is that this villain uses his last moments on Frozen to spitefully taunt poor Dipper with one more scare, so even though he loses, he somehow gets the last laugh.
This will be the last form you ever take!
Gideon Gleeful. Little Gideon is a child star who claims to be psychic and has gained community trust through his adorability, but he's actually a devil once the curtains close. A vain brat who wants all free journals and will ruin our heroes' lives just to get them. Gideon's biggest strength is the puppet persona that he creates, a celebrity profile that utilizes his charming southern accent, charismatic showmanship, and chubby cuteness. It's a geniusly crafted mask that comes to him naturally, and he commits to the act flawlessly.
What's in the jar?
That's my little secret.
However, as a villain, he's a highly temperamental kid who lacks patience and can't handle failure. You do not want to upset him, folks. His cuteness helps him to manipulate Gravity Falls, but it's his fiery anger that leads him to making his very own parents into his submissive minions.
Clean up your room this instant.
I can buy and sell you, old man!
Fair enough.
A running obsession of his is his mad crush on Mable. It's not genuine love. He's clearly just infatuated by how he sees his own whimsy and flamboyance in her. To be fair, his behaviour around his crush is normal for his age. I mean, Dipper can be just as weird with Wendy.
I've devised a plan to make sure my night with Wendy goes perfect.
The difference is that Gideon ends up taking his feelings way too far.
Once I find the final journal, I'll rule this town with you as my queen!
He's rather impulsive and emotional as a baddie, which can often lead to his plans failing. This sensitivity has a plus side though, because his stubborn entitlement can also drive him to bulldoze forward as an antagonistic hurricane.
Hey, do you guys feel it? Oh, I'm sorry, Pines family. Did I wake you?
At the same time, he is able to implement more subtle details into his villain schemes, nuances that show that he is capable of intellectual or creative strategy. From turning his merch into spy cams to fake his telepathy.
How's this for psychic? Bam! Take a good look!
To relying on the journal to win a mayor election from prison.
Oh, but I have a widow twick up my sleevey weaves.
You're making me very uncomfortable right now.
His relentless determination to win will also sometimes lead him to bargaining with fellow villain Bill Cipher. I really love Gideon's complex relationship with this god of chaos, because the power dynamic dips up and down throughout the show. In one episode, Gideon is confidently in charge, but then in other episodes, Gideon is a cowardly pawn in Bill's grand scheme. It's a fascinating villain partnership.
You know what Bill would do to me if that happens?
What, you're scared of Bill?
No, it's a complicated situation.
During Weirdmageddon, Gideon leads a Mad Max-inspired team while keeping the key to a trapped Mable, yet again objectifying her like a prize. However, Dipper gives a great speech to sway Gideon's conscience. If I'm frank though, while Gideon does self-reflect, it's a very rushed redemption that's rough around the edges. Sure, he does what he can to stop Bill, and we have to fairly remember that he's still just a kid who's been poorly raised by a pampering dad. It's just hard to ignore that he's mainly been a good boy in the finale to impress Mable.
Dipper, will you tell her what I did?
Of course.
Heck, after Weirdmageddon ends, he's still abusing his power over adults and punishing anyone who hurts his fragile ego.
Loser.
Which personally makes it hard for me to believe that he'll mature into a stable, independent adult. This aside, Gideon is still an S-tier Gravity Falls villain, and easily the runner-up in the competition for the best baddie in the show. Bill Cipher. Bill is a multi-dimensional god of chaos that's been trapped for 1 trillion years and is determined to escape at any cost. Once free, he unleashes a surreal apocalypse that he proudly names Weirdmageddon. This villain is basically what you'd get if the Illuminati Triangle became a Broadway baddie. He's a classily dressed and campy showman with a witty sense of humour, but he's still a demon triangle with evil on the brain. That's the appeal of Cipher though. He's both utterly terrifying and stomach-hurtingly funny.
Hey, wanna hear my impression of you in about 3 seconds?
Much like Giffany, he's been endowed with a wide spectrum of power, which he loves to abuse to create nightmarish visuals to torment his victims with, all while acting like the trauma he's giving is one big joke. However, he's also limited by the fact that he's imprisoned in another dimension and has to make formal deals to be able to possess anyone. This means that he has to get creative by exploiting his prey's weaknesses and attracting them to the shiny promise of his offers.
Tick-tock, kid!
Just one puppet? Fine!
It doesn't matter how exceptionally smart a character is, anyone can fall innocent to his charms. He always finds a way to stay true to the bargains he makes, even if what he delivers ends up being in his favour or at the expense of his customers, which takes a high level of cunning gameplay.
What did you do to my body?
Sorry, kid, but you're my puppet now!
Whenever he does conjure up a clone or possess someone, he uses his power to see all to make sure that his disguises are 100% accurate, staying as true as he can to his character's mannerisms and their backstories with our heroes.
Look, maybe it's against the rules, but you once did a favor for me, so I thought I could help you out.
Another highlight of Bill's villainy is the way that he adds a ticking time bomb to the show. It doesn't matter if he's relevant or not to an episode, his impending apocalypse is a frequent reminder that his threat is imminent.
Oh, this is bad! Something's coming! Something big!
Once Weirdmageddon finally arrives, Bill really gets in his zone and fully embraces his newfound role as a dystopian tyrant with macabre glee, all while he runs a bonkers apocalypse that totally lives up to its name and strikes fear into the townspeople who were not prepared for it.
Name's Bill, but you can call me your new lord and master for all of eternity!
Bill's taste for presentation is on fire in this climax too, because he gets to build a badass lair that's essentially a giant pyramid of darkness that happens to hold a throne made out of frozen humans, which the evil triangle is happy to sit on proudly.
But Gravity Falls is just the beginning. It's time to take our chaos worldwide!
Fortunately, our heroes go to huge extremes to foil Bill.
No! No, 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 no!
Thus inspiring a finale that tests both Bill's knack for targeting his victims' fears.
Well, would you look at that? Those kids really care about you, and you care about them.
Don't you?
And his strength as an all-powerful god.
Hey, Achilles! Nice work with the heel!
All while having to thwart a prophecy. Talk about a skilled multitasker. Ultimately though, it's a brave sacrifice on Stan's part that saves the day, in a defeat that shows that even gods can be duped. Bill Cipher has gone down in history as one of TV's best villains, and it's a reputation that I wholeheartedly believe he's earned. He really is a masterclass in writing an ominous force of evil in a mystery show. If you enjoyed this countdown, then why not watch one of my other villain ranking videos next? There's lots to choose from. Cheerio, folks.